Hey everyone, so it looks like you guys have been sending in some interesting articles all about living together before marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you seem curious about how this trend is changing relationships.
Yep.
Specifically, you want to know if modern love is becoming more casual because of it. So
Interesting.
let's jump right in and see what we can uncover.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating question.
Right.
It is true that the number of couples who are choosing to live together before or even instead of marriage is significant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the U.S., over 60% of couples are cohabitating,
Wow.
which is a really dramatic change from just a few decades ago.
Yeah.
So this definitely raises questions about how our ideas of commitment are evolving.
For sure. I mean, it's a far cry from the days when moving in together was almost taboo.
Right.
And now it's like the norm for so many people.
Yeah.
So is this shift really making relationships less serious?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
While cohabitation is becoming more common, it doesn't automatically mean relationships are less committed. It's more about a change in how we view and structure relationships,
Okay.
particularly among younger generations.
Makes sense.
I mean, think about it. Rising divorce rates,
Yeah.
the desire for more flexibility and shifting attitudes towards marriage itself all play a role.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
People aren't allergic to commitment. They're just redefining what it looks like.
right.
But that leads us to the heart of the matter.
Okay.
Does living together actually mean a relationship is casual?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
There's this misconception that cohabitation equals casual,
Right.
but that's an oversimplification.
Uh,
We can't just lump all cohabiting couples together.
okay, so let's unpack that.
Sure.
I'm seeing a lot of different opinions in these articles.
Yeah.
Some saying it points to a less serious relationship.
Uh,
Others saying it's just a different path to the same destination.
right.
What's the real story?
Well, the real story is that there's a huge spectrum of commitment levels in cohabiting couples.
Yep.
For some, it's definitely a step towards marriage. While for others, it's about testing compatibility,
Okay.
maybe finding a living arrangement that works,
Right.
or simply enjoying the convenience of sharing a space.
So the why behind moving in together really matters.
It does.
If it's a trial run for marriage, that's very different from couples who are committed long term,
Right.
but don't plan to ever get married.
Uh-huh.
So does understanding that why help clarify whether a relationship is casual or committed.
It absolutely does.
Okay.
What's really fascinating here is the idea of individual choice and shared vision within a relationship.
Interesting.
Some couples use cohabitation to kind of try before they buy.
Yeah.
So in that way, it blurs the lines between casual and committed,
Mm-hmm.
but others might be deeply committed without ever intending to walk down the aisle.
Right.
It all comes down to aligning your personal desires
Mm.
with a shared vision for the future of the relationship.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just about whether you share an address.
Right. But about the conversations you're having and the goals you're building together,
Exactly.
married or not.
Yep. Yeah.
This individual empowerment is fascinating.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, is this cohabitation trend part of a bigger cultural shift towards more casual relationships in general,
Yeah.
even beyond just living together?
It's quite possible.
Okay.
I mean, we are seeing a growing emphasis on emotional connection and shared values over formal institutions like marriage.
Yeah.
Cohabitation might just be a symptom of this larger evolution of how we view commitment in the 21st century.
Okay, so we're not necessarily abandoning commitment.
Yeah.
We're just expressing it in different ways.
Right.
Okay, but let's get back to cohabitation specifically for a moment.
Okay.
There's this persistent question.
Yeah.
Do couples who live together before marriage really have higher divorce rates?
Right.
What does the research actually say about that?
Well, that's a question that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And the research doesn't offer a simple yes or no answer.
While some studies suggest there might be a correlation between premarital cohabitation and higher divorce rates, other studies show that's not always the case.
Huh. So is it more about shared goals and open communication than just the act of living together?
Yes.
Like, is it about being on the same page from the start
Uh,
rather than whether you shared an address before the wedding?
exactly.
Okay.
When couples move in together with clear communication, a shared vision, and a deep understanding of each other's expectations, cohabitation doesn't have to be a negative predictor of relationship longevity. In fact, it can even strengthen the bond.
Okay.
Problems often arise when those elements are missing, whether you're married or not.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It really challenges the oversimplified idea that cohabitation equals divorce.
Right.
It seems like it's more nuanced than that.
Definitely.
It's about the quality and intention behind the relationship rather than just the living arrangements themselves. This makes me think, with all these changes and evolving views on relationships, what does the future hold for love and commitment?
Yeah.
Will cohabitation continue to rise, and will marriage become even less central?
Those are big questions, and the answers are far from certain.
Right.
But let's explore some possible scenarios.
Okay.
It's certainly possible that we'll see a future where marriage is less central to defining a serious relationship.
Yeah.
Personal choice and emotional connection could take center stage, with couples just forging their own paths, regardless of societal expectations.
Okay, so instead of the casualization of love,
Right.
maybe it's more about personalization,
Yeah.
choosing what works for you and your partner,
Exactly.
whether it's marriage cohabitation or something else entirely. But this evolution of commitment,
Right.
it isn't happening in a vacuum.
It's not.
There have to be bigger forces at play, right?
Absolutely.
Like what?
Well, there are some really powerful social and economic currents shaping how we view and approach relationships. And I think one of the most significant is the rise of female financial independence.
Interesting.
As women have gained greater economic power,
Uh-huh.
they're less reliant on marriage for financial security.
Makes sense.
And this shift allows them to choose living arrangements and relationship structures based on personal preference,
Okay.
not just economic necessity.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, in the past, marriage was often the only path to financial stability for women.
Right, exactly.
Now women are thriving in the workforce, building their own futures.
Yeah.
So how has all this impacted the dynamics within relationships?
Well, it's been a game changer.
Okay.
Women have more leverage to negotiate the terms of their relationships, whether that's cohabitation marriage or something else entirely.
Okay.
They're not just going along with what's expected.
All right.
They're actively shaping their own destinies. And this also ties into evolving gender roles as well.
Okay.
Traditional roles are becoming less rigid,
Uh-huh.
and relationships are becoming more egalitarian.
So instead of marriage being seen as this like economic necessity,
Right.
it's becoming more of a choice. It's
Sure.
a deliberate decision made from a place of empowerment, not obligation.
Yes.
And it sounds like men are stepping up too
Yeah,
and sharing responsibilities more equally,
definitely.
which definitely shifts the dynamic.
It does.
For sure.
Precisely as couples share responsibilities more equally,
Uh-huh.
both financial and domestic.
Right.
Cohabitation becomes a more viable and attractive option for many, regardless of marital status.
Okay.
And this shift toward shared responsibility,
Yeah.
it goes beyond just finances and chores.
Okay.
We're also seeing a more balanced division of emotional labor.
Interesting.
Couples are becoming more attuned to each other's needs
Uh-huh.
and actively working together to create a more fulfilling and balanced partnership.
I love that. It feels like we're moving away from that outdated breadwinner and homemaker model
Right.
towards a much more collaborative approach to love and life.
Yes, and this collaborative spirit,
Yeah.
it extends beyond the couple itself.
Oh, okay.
We're also seeing greater acceptance of diverse family structures. Blended families, single-parent households, and same-sex couples are no longer viewed as alternative,
Yeah.
but simply as different expressions of love and commitment.
It's amazing how much society's views on relationships have changed in such a short time.
It really is.
We've talked about these big social and economic shifts, but I'm also curious about the psychological and emotional aspects of cohabiting relationships.
Okay.
Are there unique challenges or opportunities that come with sharing a living space before or instead of marriage?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While cohabitation can bring a lot of benefits, like
Okay.
increased intimacy, shared experiences, a sense of partnership, it also presents some really unique psychological and emotional challenges.
What are some of the things that couples should be mindful of when making the decision to move in together?
I think one of the biggest hurdles is navigating that transition.
Okay.
From individual independence to shared space and routines.
Right.
When you're used to having your own space and doing things your own way,
Yeah.
it takes adjustment to harmonize your life with another person.
Oh, I can see how that would be a big adjustment.
It is.
It's no longer just about your own preferences.
Right.
It's about compromised communication and learning to share both physical space and resources.
Exactly. And it can be especially tough if couples haven't had open and honest conversations about their expectations for living together.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Things like dividing chores,
Mhm.
financial responsibilities, and even seemingly small things like personal habits can become major sources of conflict if they're not discussed up front.
You might think you know your partner well,
Right.
but living together can reveal a whole new side to them.
They can.
Like those little quirks that were cute before might become major annoyances when you're sharing a bathroom every morning.
That's a great point.
Right.
And it's not just about the practical aspects of sharing a space.
Mhm.
There's also the emotional component. Living in close proximity makes it harder to compartmentalize your feelings.
Oh, yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly are all on display 24/7.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So it's not just about learning to share a physical space.
Right.
It's also about navigating emotional intimacy at a deeper level.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this can be incredibly rewarding,
Uh-huh.
but it demands a lot of maturity, vulnerability, and strong communication skills.
It sounds like cohabitation can be a crash course in both physical and emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
It can either bring you closer together
Right.
or expose cracks in the foundation of the relationship.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And this is where shared values and a clear vision for the future becomes so important.
Okay.
Couples who are aligned in their goals and desires are better equipped to navigate these challenges and emerge stronger as a result.
So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether,
Right?
but about having the tools and willingness to work through those conflicts constructively.
Yeah.
But we focused a lot on the potential challenges.
Yeah.
What about the opportunities? What are some of the positive aspects of cohabiting relationships that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, one of the biggest benefits is the chance to experience a deeper level of connection and intimacy.
Okay.
When you share a living space, you're constantly exposed to each other's world,
Yeah.
from the mundane to the extraordinary. This can lead to greater understanding, empathy, and emotional closeness.
It's like weaving a shared history,
Yes.
a tapestry of everyday moments.
Yeah.
Laughter, arguments, quiet evenings, everything
Hmm.
that creates this unique bond.
Beautifully said, this shared history.
Yeah.
It fosters a sense of unity and belonging. You're building a world together, a sanctuary where you both feel safe, loved, and supported.
That's so lovely. It's
Yeah.
like cohabitation can be a crucible for love,
Uh-huh.
a space where the connection is tested and refined through the fires of everyday life.
Exactly. And this process of refinement,
Yeah.
it can lead to incredible personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
When you live with someone, you're constantly challenged to step outside your comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
confront your own limitations, and become a better version of yourself.
It's like holding up a mirror to each other,
Yeah.
reflecting both the beautiful and the not so beautiful parts of yourselves.
Right.
And through that process of reflection,
Yeah.
you have a chance to evolve and grow together.
You've got it. Cohabitation can be a catalyst for self-discovery and transformation.
Okay.
It helps you identify strengths, weaknesses, and areas for growth.
Uh-huh.
And when you're surrounded by love and support,
Yeah.
that growth becomes even more powerful.
I love that it's not just a destination, but a journey of self-discovery.
Right.
Learning about yourself just as much as you're learning about your partner.
Yes, this journey strengthens the foundation of the relationship.
Okay.
When both partners are committed to personal growth,
Yeah.
you create a dynamic of constant evolution and inspiration.
This has been so insightful. I'm seeing cohabitation in a completely new light. It's not just about sharing a roof. It's about sharing a life, a journey, and a commitment to growth and evolution, individually and as a couple.
Yeah.
But I realize there's another crucial dimension we haven't discussed yet.
What's that?
The legal and financial implications of cohabitation.
Right.
This adds another layer of complexity to the conversation, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. As cohabitation becomes more common,
Yeah.
understanding how this living arrangement affects children's well-being and development is really crucial.
It's a huge consideration for many couples,
Yeah.
especially when their decision isn't just about their own relationship,
Right.
but about creating a family environment. So what does the research say about the impact cohabitation has on kids?
Well, the research, like many things in relationships, offers a nuanced and complex picture.
Okay.
Some studies suggest that children raised in cohabiting households might experience more instability and family transitions
Okay.
compared to children raised in married parent families.
So it's not necessarily that cohabitation is inherently harmful,
Right.
but more about the potential for instability if the relationship doesn't last.
You've got it.
Okay.
This instability,
Yeah.
it can stem from relationship breakups, parental repartnering, and changes in living arrangements.
Huh?
which can have negative consequences for children's emotional well-being,
Okay.
academic performance, and social development.
That makes sense. Children thrive on consistency and predictability,
They do.
and disruption to their family structure, regardless of the reason, can be challenging.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
However, it's important to emphasize that not all cohabiting families experience this instability.
Uh-huh.
Many are just as committed and stable as married couples,
Right.
and their children flourish in these loving and supportive environments.
So we're back to the idea that it's not about making sweeping judgments,
Right.
but recognizing that every family is unique,
Uh.
and the quality of those relationships is what truly matters.
Exactly.
It seems like that's a recurring theme throughout our discussion.
It is. And this brings us to the concept of family process.
Okay.
The interactions, communication patterns, and emotional climate within a family. Research consistently shows that positive family processes, things like warmth, support open communication, and consistent discipline, are key to children's well-being, regardless of family structure.
So it sounds like whether a family is headed by married parents, cohabiting parents, single parents, or any other configuration,
Right.
the quality of the relationships and interactions within that family is what truly matters.
That's precisely it. In cohabiting couples,
Yeah.
they have a proactive role to play in creating that positive family environment.
Okay.
By fostering open communication, setting clear boundaries and expectations, and prioritizing their children's emotional needs,
Right.
they can mitigate the potential risks and promote their children's well-being.
That's an empowering message.
It is.
It's not about cohabitation guaranteeing success or failure in raising children,
Right.
but about the choices parents make, the environment they cultivate, and the love and support they provide.
Beautifully put this conversation.
Yeah.
It highlights the need for a more nuanced and compassionate understanding of modern families.
I couldn't agree more. We need to move away from judgment
Yes.
and embrace the incredible diversity and complexity of family life in the 21st century.
Indeed, every family has a unique story with its own challenges and triumphs,
Right.
instead of focusing on structure.
Yeah.
We should celebrate the love, resilience, and commitment found within each family, regardless of whether they fit traditional norms.
That's a wonderful sentiment and a perfect note to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
I agree. Let's pause here and continue our exploration of cohabitation in the next part of our conversation.
Okay, so we're back. It's been fascinating talking about all these different aspects of cohabitation.
It really has.
We've touched on societal shifts, the legal landscape, and the emotional complexities.
Right.
But there's one more area I'd like to explore before we wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
The financial side of things, particularly for cohabiting couples.
Makes sense.
It's easy to think about finances as purely practical, but they're so deeply intertwined with the emotional and relational aspects of cohabitation.
Absolutely they are.
Right. Money can be a major source of stress in any relationship,
For sure.
but I imagine it can be especially tricky for couples who are living together but aren't legally married.
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer.
So where should couples even begin when it comes to navigating finances in a cohabiting relationship?
Well, the foundation is really open and honest communication.
Okay.
It's so crucial for couples to talk about their financial goals, their habits, any debt they might be bringing into the relationship.
Right.
Transparency is key.
So it's not just about merging bank accounts.
No, not at all.
But about understanding each other's financial philosophies
Right.
and then finding a system that works for both partners.
Exactly.
What are some common approaches that cohabiting couples take when it comes to managing their money?
There are a few different models that I see couples often adopt.
Okay.
Some choose to keep their finances completely separate.
Okay.
They maintain individual accounts and then just split shared expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Others prefer a joint account approach,
Okay.
where they pool their resources and manage everything together.
Any sense?
And then there are also these hybrid models,
Okay.
where couples maintain individual accounts but also have a joint account for shared expenses.
Gotcha. So like rent, utilities, groceries, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Definitely not.
It depends on the couple's individual needs and preferences.
Uh-huh.
But regardless of the system they choose,
Right.
what are some key principles that can help cohabiting couples create a healthy financial partnership?
Well, one of the most important is setting clear expectations and boundaries around money.
Okay.
This could involve deciding who pays for what, how much each person contributes to shared expenses, and how financial decisions are made as a couple.
So it's about being proactive. Yeah. And establishing that financial roadmap together, rather than just letting things unfold haphazardly.
Exactly.
Are there any legal documents or agreements that cohabiting couples should consider to protect themselves financially?
Yeah, that's where a cohabitation agreement can be incredibly valuable.
Okay.
This legally binding document outlines things like property ownership, financial contributions, and how assets would be divided in the event of a separation.
So it sounds like a cohabitation agreement can offer peace of mind
It definitely can.
and help prevent potential conflicts down the road.
Absolutely.
Especially when you consider that, legally speaking, cohabiting couples don't always have the same protections as married couples.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, without a cohabitation agreement, it can be so much more difficult to sort out financial matters if the relationship ends.
Yeah.
It can lead to legal disputes and just a lot of heartache.
That's definitely something for couples to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's not about being pessimistic or anticipating a breakup.
No.
It's about being responsible and protecting yourselves financially.
Exactly. It's about approaching cohabitation with that sense of clarity and intention, both emotionally and financially.
Good.
And it's about building a partnership that's built on a foundation of trust, transparency, and mutual respect.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
It seems like these same principles apply whether we're talking about communication, emotional intimacy, or even finances within a cohabiting relationship.
Right, they do.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
It is a healthy and thriving relationship requires effort, understanding, and a willingness to navigate both the joys and challenges that come with sharing a life, a home, and yes, even a bank account.
This has been such an illuminating deep dive.
I agree.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this complex and ever-evolving landscape of cohabitation.
Yeah, there's always more to uncover.
What are some final takeaways you hope our listener will keep in mind as they reflect on their own experiences and perspectives?
I think the most important thing to remember is that there's no right or wrong way to approach cohabitation.
It's about finding what works for each unique couple, communicating openly and honestly, and being willing to adapt and grow together.
That's such a powerful message.
It is.
It's a reminder that love in all its forms is a journey, not a destination.
Beautifully said.
And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of cohabitation.
I think so too.
This has been such an incredible conversation.
It really has.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listener, thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and given you some new perspectives to ponder. Until next time, keep those conversations flowing and stay open to all the possibilities that love and life have to offer.